In the peaceful village of Bantu, where the winds carried stories and the trees whispered wisdom, there lived a woman named Amma. She was known for her gentle smile and her hands that worked like the wind, quiet but steady. Amma was a single mother, and her life revolved around one thing. Her son, Tunde, was just 8 years old, but his spirit was older than his years. His eyes held questions too deep for his age, and his laughter was the kind that filled empty hearts. Every morning, he would run barefoot across the red earth, chasing lizards, chasing dreams. Amma would call after him, shaking her head, but smiling. He was the sun in her sky, the song in her silence. Life was not easy for Amma, but she never complained. She sewed clothes by hand, fetched water from the distant stream, and sold vegetables in the market. Every coin she earned was stretched to feed and clothe Tundi. She lived in a small mud house with a thatched roof and a wooden door that creaked when the wind blew. It wasn't much, but it was home, filled with laughter, prayer, and the warm scent of yam porridge. One day, as Amma was folding freshly washed clothes under the mango tree, a woman from the next village arrived. Her name was Sister Jalia, a fast-talking trader with bangles that clinked like coins. "Amma," she said, her voice quick, "there is an opportunity in Gabembo town, 1 night's travel. You sell my beadwork there and keep half the profit. It's good money, better than a week's sewing." Amma hesitated. 1 night? Who will stay with Tundi? "Just 1 night," Sister Jalia repeated. "Leave him with someone. You'll be back before the rooster crows twice." That evening, Amma sat with Tunde outside, watching the stars appear like scattered salt in the sky. He leaned against her shoulder, and she braided his hair slowly, gently. "Mama, will you always be with me?" he asked suddenly. She smiled, her fingers pausing for a moment. "Always. Even when you can't see me, I'll be near. Like the wind, like the moon." She thought of the offer. The money could buy Tunde new school shoes, maybe even save for his uniform. She'd never left him before. But this was only 1 night. The next morning, she walked to old Ma Nene's hut. Ma Nene was an old widow, grumpy but familiar, who often sat on her stool all day, chewing cola and gossiping. "I need you to watch Tundi tonight," Amma asked softly. Ma Nene scoffed. "I'm not running a nursery, oh. I'll leave some food." "It's just 1 night," Amma pleaded. "Fine, but he better not cry too much." Amma returned home and packed a small bundle. That night, she kissed Tundi's forehead 3 times, the way she always did. "I'll be back before morning, my son. Be strong for Mama." Tunde hugged her tightly, his small arms wrapping around her like vines. She forced herself to leave, not knowing that this journey would change everything. As the cart rolled away into the night, Amma looked back one last time. The door closed behind Tunde, and the wind in Bantu grew strangely still. That evening, the sun dipped quickly behind the hills, leaving a golden glow that faded into gray. Tunde sat quietly outside Ma Nene's hut, holding his little calabash bowl of porridge. He missed his mother already. Her warmth, her voice, even the way she sang. While cooking, it was all missing. The silence in the village that night felt different, heavier. Inside, Ma Nene grumbled as she blew out her lantern. "Eat quick and sleep. I don't want any noise," she snapped. She was never a kind woman, but Amma had trusted her because she was old and respected. She had once raised 6 children of her own, but now age had hardened her heart like sun-dried clay. Tunde nodded politely, sat on the mat, and ate his porridge quietly. But when thunder rolled across the sky, he flinched. The wind howled as if spirits were whispering secrets to the earth. Ma Nene cursed and closed the window flap. "Storm is coming," she mumbled. "Go to bed." Tunde lay on the mat, trying to fall asleep, but the sounds outside were too loud. The wind whistled through the trees and leaves rustled like footsteps. Then came a sound that made his heart stop. Knock, knock, knock. It wasn't loud. In fact, it was too soft, like someone didn't want to wake the whole village. 3 gentle knocks on the door. Tunde sat up. "Auntie?" he whispered. "Ma, Nene." Stirred in her sleep, grunted, but didn't wake. Knock, knock, knock. Again, slow and calm. Tunde's heart pounded in his chest. The air felt cold, the kind that didn't belong in Bantu. He tiptoed to the window and peeked out. No one, only trees, moving in the wind. But he felt it. Something was there. He hurried back inside, crawled under the mat, and pulled the cloth tightly over his head. Then, the door creaked open. He didn't scream. He didn't move. He held his breath. Soft footsteps. 1, 2, 3. Tunde's eyes stung with tears. He heard the mat shift beside him, then silence. Whoever or whatever had entered was no longer moving. Suddenly, the wind stopped. No rain, no thunder, just silence. And then, nothing. When Ma Nene finally opened her eyes, it was already dawn. The coals in the fire pot had died, and the hut was cold. She rubbed her eyes and yawned. "Boy," she called lazily, "get up. Your mother will be back soon." No answer. She looked around. The mat was empty. Tunde? Still nothing. She stood up, checked outside, behind the hut, even in the neighbor's yard, but the child was gone. Not a single footprint remained. Just the wind returning, soft as if it was sorry. Her hands began to tremble. This can't be. By midday, word spread. People gathered. Some blamed Ma Nene. Others whispered about the night spirits, ancient beings that roamed the earth in storms, searching for children left alone. It was said they carried them to the forest beyond the veil, where only the brave could follow. But Amma had not yet returned, and when she did, she would find her son gone and a nightmare waiting. The sun had not yet fully risen when Amma returned to Bantu, dust from the road still clinging to her wrapper and face. She was exhausted, but her heart was light. The trade had gone well. She had sold every string of beads and returned with more money than she had seen in months. She even bought a small wooden whistle for Tunde, knowing how much he loved to mimic birds in the trees. As she neared her compound, something felt wrong. The birds were chirping, but no smoke curled from Ma Nene's kitchen. No children laughed in the distance. The air itself felt too still, too quiet. Amma's smile slowly faded. She quickened her steps. Her heart beat faster. "Ma Nene," she called out, standing in front of the hut. The old woman stepped out slowly, avoiding Amma's eyes. Her face was pale, lips pressed tightly together. Amma frowned. "Where is Tunde? Is he still asleep?" Ma Nene didn't speak. Amma's heart began to race. "Where is my son?" she asked again, louder this time. I don't know," Ma Nene mumbled, voice shaking. "He was here last night. Then, he was gone." "What do you mean, gone?" Amma dropped the bag in her hand, eyes wide with panic. "He is a child. He couldn't have gone far. I swear I slept early. I told him to lie down. I thought he was there until morning." Amma didn't wait. She ran to her home, calling Tunde's name over and over again. She checked under the bed, behind the kitchen, even in the neighbors' yards. People gathered, some still chewing mourning. Colonut, others drawn by her cries. They searched the village inch by inch, behind bushes, along the narrow footpaths, near the stream. No sign, not even a footprint, not even the whistle she had brought him. Amma's cries tore through the sky. "Tunde! My son! My son!" The elders gathered under the story tree, their faces grave. One of them, Elder Boko, stepped forward and placed a firm hand on her shoulder. "Sister Amma," he said softly. "Last night, there was a great storm, the kind that wakes the forest spirits. You left your child alone." Amma looked at him, confused and angry. "What are you saying?" "They come in such nights," Elder Boko continued. "The night spirits. When a child is left unguarded and fear enters their heart, the spirits come. They take them into the forest between worlds, into the realm of the forgotten." Amma shook her head furiously. No, my son is not forgotten. He is here. He must be here." But the villagers only lowered their eyes. Later that day, Amma sat under the old baobab tree, the one where she used to tell stories to Tunde, her head buried in her hands. The wind rustled the leaves above her, and for a moment, she thought she heard his voice. But it was only memory. She stayed there all night, not moving, not speaking. Grief carved its name deep into her bones. By morning, she made a promise to the ancestors. If her child still breathed, if he was still somewhere in this world or beyond it, she would find him, even if it meant walking into the very forest where the spirits dwelled. 3 days had passed since Tunda vanished, and though the village had returned to its rhythm, Amma had not. She no longer cooked, no longer sang. Her eyes were sunken, her voice barely a whisper. Every night, she sat under the baobab tree, calling her son's name to the stars. The people of Bantu pitied her, but they also feared the place her sorrow was taking her. On the 4th day, as she sat tracing circles in the dirt with her finger, an unfamiliar shadow passed over her. She looked up and saw a tall man with a weathered face and a bow slung across his shoulder. "I heard you lost a child," he said, voice low and calm. Amma stood slowly, unsure whether to speak. "They call me Kwame, the forest hunter," he added. "I've seen signs in the trees, strange ones." Her heart leapt. "You've seen him? My Tunde?" Kwame shook his head. "Not the boy, but footprints. Tiny ones. Too deep in the woods, where no child should wander, and one other thing." Reached into the pouch at his waist and pulled out a small piece of cloth. Amma gasped. It was part of the shirt Tunde had been wearing when she left. Tears filled her eyes. "Where did you find this?" "Near the base of Spirit Rock, deep in the heart of the forest," Kwame said. "But listen carefully, Amma. That place is not ordinary. The old stories speak of a realm hidden in the forest, where the Hollow Ones dwell." "The Hollow Ones?" Amma whispered. Kwame nodded. "Spirits who steal lonely children. They do not kill. They raise them in silence. The child forgets their name, their family. In time, they become one of them." Amma's legs weakened beneath her. "No," she murmured. "He can't forget me. He's my child." "Then come," Kwame said. "If you have the courage to follow him beyond the world of the living." That evening, they set out. Kwame walked ahead, silent and watchful, while Amma followed, her feet bare, her heart full of fear. The deeper they went, the stranger the forest became. The air grew thick. The trees stood taller than any she'd ever seen. Birds no longer sang. The silence was full of whispers. At one point, they crossed a stream with no reflection. "Don't look into it," Kwame warned. "This is the boundary." As night fell, they reached the base of a great black rock. Kwame motioned for her to stop. "This is Spirit Rock," he said. "If he's still alive, he's beyond here. But we cannot just walk through. The Hollow Ones test anyone who enters." Suddenly, a soft wind passed them, and a voice echoed around the trees. Not loud, not harsh, but ancient and sorrowful. "Who dares enter the land of the forgotten?" Amma stepped forward. Her voice shook but did not fail. "I am a mother. My child was taken. I have come to bring him home." There was silence. Then the wind swirled and formed a glowing path between the trees. Kwame looked at her. "From here, I cannot go further. Only the one who birthed the child may pass." Amma looked ahead. Her hands trembled, but her heart was steady. "I will go," she said, and with that she stepped into the light, into the unknown. Amma stepped into the glowing path, and the world behind her vanished like a breath in the wind. The trees faded, the air thickened, and the ground beneath her feet felt like clouded glass, soft yet real. All around her, a pale mist swirled, full of whispers and distant lullabies. She walked slowly, calling out softly, "Tunda, Tunde, my son." Then she heard it, a familiar voice, faint, singing the tune she used to hum while pounding yam in the evenings. Her heart nearly burst. She followed the sound to a clearing bathed in silver light. There, children sat quietly under a giant spirit tree, their eyes distant, their mouths silent. Their skin glowed faintly, and their movements were slow, dreamlike. They did not laugh, did not cry. They simply existed, as if waiting for something. Amma's eyes scanned the group frantically. Then she saw him, Tunde. He was sitting beneath the tree, gazing up into its branches, a soft breeze playing with his curls. Amma ran to him, dropped to her knees, and gathered him into her arms. "My baby, my son, I've come for you." But he did not respond. His arms hung limp at his sides, and though his eyes were open, they looked through her, not at her. It was as if he didn't know her at all. "Tunda," she whispered, touching his cheek. "It's me, your mother." Still, no reaction. Her heart sank. The stories were true. "You cannot take him back like this," a deep voice said behind her. Amma turned. Standing there was a tall figure in a robe made of flowing leaves and smoke. His eyes glowed like embers, and his feet never touched the ground. I am Ezemoro, keeper of the Hollow Ones," he said. "These children are not harmed. They are simply forgotten. By their people, by their world, sometimes even by themselves." "No," Amma said, standing. "I never forgot him. I made a mistake. But I came back. I came to bring him home." The spirit studied her silently. "If you wish to reclaim his soul," Ezemoro said, "you must prove your love. The bond must be stronger than our hold. You will face 3 trials." Amma nodded without hesitation. "Anything." Ezemoro raised his hand. The first trial. Endure pain without anger. Suddenly, Amma stood barefoot on hot coals. The heat scorched her skin, and her cries echoed through the mist. But she did not curse. She did not weep. She clenched her fists and bore the pain, whispering Tunde's name with each step. When it was over, the blisters on her feet vanished. The spirit nodded. The second trial, give what you love. Most Ezemoro offered her a clay bowl filled with glowing light. "This is your voice," he said. "Your songs, your laughter, your words. Give it, and the bond will deepen." Amma took the bowl and drank the light. Instantly, her voice was gone. She opened her mouth. Nothing came out, not even a whisper. Tears filled her eyes, but she nodded again. The final trial. Face her worst memory. The mist shifted, revealing the day she found her son missing. The silence, the hopelessness, the broken screams. She had to relive every second, but this time she could not cry out. She fell to her knees, clutching her chest. But she endured. The spirit stepped forward, solemn. "You have passed." Amma turned back to Tundi, still silent, still distant. Then, from her lips, though no sound escaped, she began to hum the lullaby, the one she sang while cooking. the one he loved. Tundi blinked, his head tilted, his lips parted. "Mama?" he whispered. She nodded, eyes full of tears, and then he ran into her arms. The spirit tree behind them shivered. The hollow ones faded into the mist, and the path home opened once again. When Amma stepped back into the world of the living, the morning sun was just rising over Bantu. The birds sang again. The air smelled of wet earth and wild flowers. Beside her, little Tunda held her hand tightly, his small fingers wrapped around hers like roots clinging to life. They had returned. Amma no longer had a voice. She could not speak a word, but her eyes carried a language stronger than sound. Her silence was sacred now, a reminder of what she had given to bring her son home. Word of their return spread faster than the wind. Villagers dropped their farming tools, left their cooking pots, and ran to see what many had thought impossible. When they saw Amma and Tunde standing at the edge of the market square, people gasped. Some bowed their heads in awe. Others whispered prayers. A few crossed themselves, unsure whether it was miracle or mystery. Elder Boko stepped forward, the same one who had told Amma of the night spirits. His voice shook as he spoke. "You have crossed into the forbidden forest and returned with what was lost." Amma nodded once. Then she reached into her cloth pouch and held up the little wooden whistle she had bought for Tunda. He took it, with trembling hands, and for the first time in days, he smiled. But one person was not smiling. Maneni stood among the crowd, her face pale, lips pursed. She tried to slip away, but Elder Boko saw her. "Old mother," he called, "come forward." The villagers parted to let her through. Her eyes darted about, searching for escape, but found none. "You were trusted with a child," Elder Boko continued, "and instead of guarding him, you slept. You lied. You failed not only Amma but the ancestors who watch over us all." Maneni opened her mouth to protest, but Amma stepped forward. She didn't speak. She didn't have to. She simply pointed at her son, then at her throat. At what? She had lost. The silence that followed was heavier than any word. The elders gathered quickly and spoke in hushed tones. Then the judgment was announced. Manene was to leave the center of the village and live on its outskirts, alone. No visitors, no helpers. She would live as she had left Tunda, forgotten. The people murmured their agreement. And so it was done. For Amma, the villagers tried to praise her, to crown her with flowers, to dance and sing in her honor. But she only smiled gently and shook her head. She did not seek glory. Her eyes were always on Tunde. In the weeks that followed, Amma became something more than a mother. She became a teacher. Though she could no longer speak, she taught with her hands, with her heart. She helped other mothers understand what it meant to truly protect their children. She taught them not just how to feed and clothe, but how to listen. How to be present. How to see the silent cries of a child before the world sees them vanish. And Tunda. He changed too. The boy who once chased lizards now sat quietly, listening to the wind, telling stories only his mother could understand. He never strayed far from her side again. Though they had returned, a part of both mother and child would always carry the forest with them. But instead of sorrow, it had become a strength. A reminder that love, real, selfless, fearless love, was stronger than any spirit, stronger than any silence. Years passed in the quiet village of Bantu, and like the rising and setting of the sun, time left its mark on everything, on the huts, on the trees, and on the people. But some stories did not fade. They grew stronger. Amma, once a mother crushed by grief, was now a woman revered across many villages. Though her voice never returned, her presence spoke louder than words. She became known as Amma the Silent Flame, a woman whose eyes told stories, whose touch gave comfort, and whose life became a living tale told by elders to children at twilight. Her son, Tundi, had grown into a tall, thoughtful young man. He did not laugh as loudly as other boys, nor did he chase wild goats or throw pebbles into the stream. But he carried a calm strength in his bones, a wisdom beyond his years. He remembered everything. He remembered the night his mother vanished into the forest for him. He remembered the emptiness of forgetting. He remembered the moment her touch brought him back to life. Tundi became a teacher, a builder, and a dreamer. He took a small piece of land beside the old baobab tree, the one where his mother had once cried to the heavens, and there he began to build. People watched curiously as walls rose from the red earth. Children came to help, orphans, wanderers, little ones from nearby villages who had lost one or both parents. Tunde called it the home of returning. It was not just a shelter. It was a place of healing, a place where no child would feel forgotten, a place where mothers like Amma were honored and children were protected like seeds in dry season. Amma, now gray-haired and slightly bent, helped care for the children. Though she never spoke, they understood her. She cooked for them, told them stories through signs, hummed the lullabies that had once saved her son's soul. Every year, on the anniversary of their return from the forest, the villagers held a festival, the day of the mother's return. People from far and wide came to hear Tunde speak. He stood beneath the baobab, the great tree swaying above him, and shared the story of his mother, not with drama or flair, but with quiet strength. "She gave everything to bring me back," he told the crowd one year. "She walked through the veil of the spirits. She gave her voice so that I could find mine." Then he would turn to her, sitting in her wooden chair, surrounded by the children she now helped raise, and the crowd would rise, bowing their heads. At the entrance of the home of returning, Tunda carved words into stone, words that every child read as they stepped through the gate. "A child is never too small to be seen. A mother is never too weak to fight. And love, when true, is the bridge between what is lost and what can be found." Years later, when Amma passed quietly in her sleep, the entire village mourned. But no one cried with despair. They celebrated her life with dancing, drumming, and stories. Tunde planted a second baobab beside the old one, and under its roots, he buried her wooden whistle. Because her story, their story, was no longer just a tale of pain. It was a story of return, of redemption, of how even silence can roar like thunder when love leads the way. And so it became legend, passed down from mouth to mouth, heart to heart. The story of the mother who left her child and returned with so much more than she ever lost.